There comes a moment where you either wake up or the world keeps using you as a pawn. This is that moment, because while you've been taught to survive, they've been taught how to command. They don't wait for permission. They don't ask, "Can I succeed?" They've already decided they were born for it. You've been playing checkers. They've been reading the entire blueprint for the board. And the craziest part, it was never really hidden. It's just never been shown to you. Let's break it open. This isn't about money. This is about mentality. Because power doesn't come from paper. It comes from programming. The elite are taught to think in systems. You were trained to chase symptoms. They're not reacting to the world. They're engineering it. And if you don't see it now, you'll stay on the treadmill, running fast, getting nowhere, wondering why life feels like a leash around your neck while others seem to fly. Here's the truth. They don't say out loud, "You are not your circumstances. You are the command center of your life." But they trained you to forget that. You were born with the same factory settings as the greats, same mind, same mechanics, same access to the invisible laws of creation. But while you were being taught compliance, they were being taught creation. They handed you a system designed to maintain their power, and you've been told it's the only way. Go to school, obey, work, hope, beg, retire. But no one taught you how to command thought. No one handed you the operating manual for mental power, because the moment you activate it, the moment you remember who you are, you're no longer manageable. This is where the shift begins. Let's talk about Napoleon Hill, not the watered-down quotes, not the surface-level Instagram versions. The real fire, the dangerous part, the part the elite inhale like oxygen, but keep out of your reach. He didn't just write Think and Grow Rich. He decoded a formula for identity-level transformation. He sat with Carnegie, watched Ford think, listened to Edison bend reality, and he noticed something terrifyingly simple. They all believed first, even when the world called them delusional, even when nothing in their environment looked like success. They had one thing in common, an unshakable inner command. They weren't reacting to the world, they were instructing it. You've been taught to observe. They were trained to declare. You wait for proof. They move from decision. And here's what Hill exposed. Your thoughts repeated with emotion become your identity, and your identity always dictates your results. So if they can control the thoughts you repeat, they can control your life. But this is where you break free. This is where we reset the operating system. If you don't like the life you're living, it's not your fault, but it is now your responsibility. You've inherited beliefs that aren't even yours, patterns soaked into you from generations of survival. And they don't belong in the mind of a builder, of a commander, of a chosen one. They belong to the version of you that wasn't awake. But that version is gone now, because from this point forward, you don't chase results. You install identity. You don't hope for success. You become the type of person who creates it. And if that sounds hard, good, because this isn't for everyone. This is for the one who feels it in their chest, that burning tension between who they are and who they were told they could be. The war inside you is real. One voice says, be realistic. The other, burn the map. Which one wins? The one you feed. The elite don't wait for confidence. They command it. They rehearse success like it's already done. They speak their future into the present. They wear belief like armor. And they never explain their ambition to small minds. Because here's what they know. Reality bends to those who won't break. And here's what you need to know. You're not here to fit in. You're here to recode the program. The real elite play a game you were never invited to. Not because you're not worthy, but because they feared what you'd become if you ever understood the rules. Well, guess what? We're pulling the curtain back. Not with permission, with power. The elite aren't magical. They're trained, conditioned, programmed to lead while the rest obey. But the moment you rewrite the code in your mind, you stop being a pawn in their system. You become a force of your own. You stop asking, is this possible? And start declaring, this is inevitable. You stop saying one day and start acting like it's already yours. Because here's the secret. You were never waiting on the world. You were waiting on you. So this is the reset. We don't beg. We build. We don't react. We reprogram. We don't echo doubt. We install belief. Starting now, your words become commands. Your thoughts become architecture. Your decisions become destiny. The old you was trained to hesitate. This version moves like the decision's already made. Say this to yourself, and say it like it's oxygen. I don't ask for permission. I don't explain my fire. I don't wait for signs. I am the signal. The system wasn't built for you to win, so build your own operating system, and make this your mantra. I don't hesitate. I build, I become. They don't tell you this in school. They don't whisper it in the offices. They don't include it in the job training manuals. But it's the core operating secret of every elite mind. Your subconscious doesn't care what's true. It listens to what's repeated. The world taught you that belief comes from proof. But the ones at the top, they know proof is a byproduct of repetition. Every powerful life starts in silence, where no one claps, no one believes, and no one sees what you see. But you keep repeating the vision. You keep feeding the identity, until your subconscious gets the message. This is who we are now. That's not hope. That's mental engineering. That's what Napoleon Hill built his entire system on. Not wishes, not good vibes, but auto-suggestion. The process of speaking directly to your inner operating system until it has no choice but to obey. Edison used it. Ford lived by it. Carnegie required it from every man around him. You're not failing because you're unworthy. You're stuck because your inner voice has been hijacked by repetition of powerlessness. What you hear most, you become. Every "I'm not ready," every "it's too hard," every "who am I to do this," is a line rehearsed into your bloodstream. But here's the upgrade. If repetition got you here, then repetition can rebuild you. You don't need new DNA. You need a new loop, and Hill knew it. He said any idea, plan, or purpose may be placed in the mind through repetition of thought. Not some ideas, any idea. Meaning, if you repeat greatness long enough, it starts to install itself. You're not waiting for the shift. You are programming it. So here's what you've got to get deep. Your subconscious doesn't care if it's real. It only asks, how often do we think this? Repeat power, you become power. Repeat defeat, you become a prisoner of your own voice. And this is where the elite separate themselves. They don't wait for belief, they train it. They don't hope for faith, they drill it into their bones. Every morning, every night, they're rehearsing the identity they've already claimed. You don't see the behind the scenes, the mirror work, the affirmations in private, the way they command their environment with language, because that's the real training ground, not the classroom, not the conference, the internal echo chamber of their own mind. Hill called it the dominating thoughts, and he said those thoughts held with emotion become your external world. Let me say that again. What you hold with emotion, you will hold in your hands. So if you've been living in doubt, carrying the weight of insecurity, waking up feeling like your dreams are distant, it's not the dream that's the problem. It's the broadcast running beneath your surface. The elite write their own script, then they play it on loop. You've been playing someone else's. So let's get tactical. Here's what Napoleon Hill said every great achiever mastered: auto-suggestion. It's not complicated, but it's the most underused weapon in the world. It starts with a statement, an identity statement, not a goal, not a wish, a decision. You say it with force. You say it daily. You say it until it burns through your excuses and becomes part of your breath. This isn't self-help. This is self-command. Say this: I am the architect of my mind. I command my beliefs. I command my results. Because if you don't command them, someone else will, and they already have. From your childhood, you were told what to expect, what's realistic, what's possible for someone like you, and you believed it. Not because it was true, but because it was repeated. That's how dangerous repetition is. It can build empires or destroy lives. So if you want to rise, if you want to build what they said was impossible, start here. Craft the identity, write it down, feel it as truth, and say it every single day. Hill didn't just observe powerful people, he decoded them. He discovered that when Edison was working on the light bulb, he wasn't waiting to see if it would work. He was already living in the identity of the man who had created it. Ford wasn't asking, can we build an engine that works this way? He was commanding it into form. By holding one vision, I will have it. I will not stop. Carnegie didn't hope to be wealthy. He installed wealth into his subconscious long before he held a dollar. And you can do the same. Because again, Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between what's imagined with emotion and what's real in the physical. That's why fear feels real. That's why doubt can paralyze. It's also why belief becomes form. So repeat this until you don't question it anymore. I am not hoping for change. I am programming it. I am not waiting to feel worthy. I am installing worth into my subconscious mind. And you do this every single day, out loud, with emotion, with fire. This is not about fake confidence. This is about cellular alignment. Until your body, your thoughts, your decisions all move from one source, belief. This is why the elite feel different, why they walk into a room and don't shrink. They're not better, they're trained. Their subconscious has been reconstructed to support their dominance. You are not behind. You are just early in the installation process. But from this point forward, you don't wait for the world to clap. You become your own rhythm, your own roar, your own mental programmer. So here's your assignment. Start with this statement. Write it down. Say it in the mirror. Say it before sleep. Say it before action. Say it even when it feels like a lie. Because your subconscious doesn't care what's real. It cares what's repeated. I don't follow reality. I create it. I don't beg for results. I command them. I don't wonder who I am. I decide. Say it out loud and move like it's done. You cannot serve two identities. One must die. This is the line. This is the burn. This is where the old version of you begs to stay safe. And the real you sets the bridge on fire. Because you've been trying to grow while still holding the escape plan. You've been dipping a toe into your destiny while keeping a hand on your past. But that's not how power works. That's not how the elite operate. They decide, once, and that decision becomes their gravity, their identity, their law. Napoleon Hill said, "The person who makes a definite decision, then backs it with unwavering belief, will magnetize everything required. But you can't magnetize what you haven't married. And most people are just dating their potential. They flirt with greatness, but still sleep next to fear. You say you want it, but you've left doors open. You say you're all in, but your energy is divided. You still carry plan B. You still check on the version of you that you were supposed to outgrow. You still entertain thoughts like, if this doesn't work, I'll go back. But here's the truth. The elite live by. There is no going back. There is no if this doesn't work. There is only forward. You cannot become a new person with old identity insurance. So today you burn the bridge, not to be dramatic, but because there is no true transformation without elimination. Every person who rewrote the world reached a point of no return. Alexander the Great burned the ships. Cortés did the same. They arrived in new territory and torched the retreat plan. Why? Because when your only option is forward, you become unstoppable. It's not about risk. It's about identity immersion. You don't become the next level you by seeing how it goes. You become them by deciding that's who you are now. That's it. One choice. Repeat it until your actions can't tell any other story. You think it's about confidence. It's not. It's about cutting off the alternatives. The word decision means to cut, to sever, to eliminate other paths. So if you're still deciding what to pursue, you haven't made a real decision. You've only entertained possibilities. And the elite, they're not interested in possibility. They're obsessed with inevitability. Ford didn't say, we'll build it if the engineers figure it out. He said, build it anyway. That's not logic. That's law. Pell wrote, the moment one definitely commits oneself, providence moves too. The minute you decide, really decide, you activate a force far greater than chance. But if you hesitate, the universe doesn't move. It waits. And here's the trap most people fall into. They confuse movement with momentum. They confuse interest with decision, scrolling motivation, starting plans, reading books, talking about change. That's not commitment. That's performance. That's hiding inside the illusion of progress. The elite move different. They burn the list. They become the outcome. Carnegie didn't tiptoe. He didn't test the waters. He walked into rooms he wasn't invited to because his decision had already spoken. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. When you decide fully, you become dangerous, not because of who you are, but because of who you're no longer pretending to be. Say this with your chest. I've already decided. Feel what that does. Feel how it collapses the noise, how it silences the hesitation. Because here's what's wild. When you decide with finality, you don't need motivation. You don't need approval. You don't need every step figured out. You just move, and the path forms under your feet. That's how every revolution begins. That's how empires are built. Not with permission, with conviction. Look around. There's a version of you still looking for a way out, and there's another version, the chosen one who's been silently screaming for you to stop playing small. They can't coexist. One is a prisoner of what if, the other is a master of already done. Only one gets to breathe. Only one gets to build. This is not about being reckless. It's about being relentless. You either become the architect of your future, or you stay a tenant in someone else's design. But you don't get both. Not anymore. So stop entertaining the backup plan. Stop explaining your vision to people who don't have one. Stop watering down your fire so others feel comfortable. Say it louder. I've already decided. Let that become your loop. Let it rewire your nervous system. Let it burn into every action, every move, every choice you make. Because the moment you decide, the moment you really commit, you'll see things bend in your direction. Doors open, people show up, ideas land, energy rises, because you're no longer leaking power. The bridge is gone, the fallback is dead, and what's left is the most powerful version of you the world has ever seen. So here's the ritual. Don't skip it. Don't dilute it. Don't second guess it. Say it. Every morning, every time fear creeps in, every time doubt whispers. I've already decided. I've already become. I walk like it's mine, because I've burned the bridge. Now move like the decision is final, because it is. You are not just what you think. You are what surrounds you. Energy is contagious. Identity is transferable, and whether you know it or not, you're catching beliefs from the people around you. You may have the mindset of a king, but if your circle speaks the language of limitation, you will forget your crown. This is what the elite know that you were never taught. Your proximity is your prophecy. Napoleon Hill didn't just talk about thinking, he talked about alignment. He called it the mastermind principle, the deliberate formation of a mental alliance with those who amplify your power, not diminish it. It's not a motivational quote, it's a law of elevation. Hill said, when two or more minds harmonize in a spirit of perfect cooperation, a third invisible force is created, a mastermind. That force, it's not just intellectual, it's energetic. It's where ideas sharpen, belief compounds, and momentum becomes unbreakable. But most people don't form mastermind circles. They form comfort circles. They stay close to those who never challenge them, who validate the old story, who keep the bar low, so no one feels left behind. But listen to me now. You cannot become who you are called to be while surrounded by those addicted to who you used to be. If they roll their eyes when you speak vision, if they go silent when you talk about expansion, if they laugh when you say you're meant for more, they're not your people. They are anchors, and you're not a ship. You're a storm. It's time to clean the room, and if necessary, leave the room. Your life is not a group project, but your future is influenced by group vibration. You've got to audit the table. Every voice in your life is either reminding you of your destiny or seducing you back into your history. The elite don't apologize for this. They curate their atmosphere like their life depends on it, because it does. You think Edison surrounded himself with casual thinkers? You think Carnegie broke bread with people who didn't believe in wealth? You think Ford kept small minds close? Absolutely not. They formed their mastermind circles with people who thought on fire, who spoke in blueprints, who lived like reality was clay. And that energy, that belief, that mental proximity ignited ideas they couldn't have summoned alone. Listen to Hill. No individual may have great power without availing himself of the mastermind. So the question is not, am I motivated? It's, am I surrounded by minds that elevate me? Because proximity becomes identity. You'll either rise with giants or shrink with settlers. Look at your circle. Who challenges your vision with depth, not doubt? Who speaks to the future you, not the past? Who stretches your standard just by being in the room? If you don't have those names, you're not in a mastermind. You're in a memory group, and it's time to upgrade. This doesn't mean you cut people with bitterness, but you distance with clarity. You don't need permission to grow. You need precision in who you allow near your frequency. Say it loud. I do not allow weak energy in my atmosphere. Because every time you absorb small thinking, you have to spend energy detoxing before you can create. You can't afford that anymore. Your mission is too big. Your time is too valuable. Your energy is too rare. So what do? You seek the table that scares you a little, where you're not the smartest, where your vision is not the biggest, where every conversation stretches your self-image. That's where growth happens. That's where identity upgrades. That's where faith becomes normal. You see, the elite don't just talk goals. They normalize the unthinkable. Being around them forces your subconscious to recalibrate. What once felt impossible starts to feel expected, because the environment tells your subconscious, this is what we do. This is who we are. This is how we move. You don't have to say it out loud. The room says it for you. You need that room. A room that doesn't flinch when you speak wild goals. A room where legacy is the baseline. A room where people build before breakfast. That's your new circle. That's your new fuel. And if you can't find that room yet, then become it. Be so clear, so focused, so magnetic that your frequency begins to pull aligned minds toward you. You attract what you broadcast. If you walk like discipline, talk like vision, move like belief, you'll start drawing those who do the same. And when they come, don't play small. Don't minimize your dreams to fit in. Expand the room with your fire. Because when minds connect on purpose, the universe responds. Hill said it best. The mastermind principle can give you absolute protection against failure, provided always that your purpose in using this principle is beneficial to all whom you influence. So build the circle. Protect the frequency. Set the standard. From this moment forward, you don't do life alone. You don't entertain conversations that lower your power. You don't tolerate vibration that dims your identity. Repeat this. I align with builders. I attract belief. I move with vision. I protect my atmosphere. Let this be your new boundary. If it doesn't stretch my standard, it doesn't stay in my space. You're building a fortress of energy now. One conversation at a time, one alliance at a time, one decision at a time. And when you look around, months from now, and you see a circle that multiplies your momentum, a team that reflects your future, a table filled with destiny-driven minds, you'll know, this wasn't luck, it was alignment, it was law. Say it again. I do not allow weak energy in my atmosphere. And now move like your circle is sacred. Because it is. They won't see it coming. How consistent you've become. How committed. How generous. You'll do what they don't expect, not to prove anything, but because over-delivery is who you are now. Not for applause, not for validation, because your standard has left the stratosphere. This is what the elite understand. Over-delivery isn't a tactic. It's not a hustle trick. It's identity in motion. It's showing up at a level no one demanded. Because you no longer ask, what do I get? You ask, who am I becoming? Napoleon Hill said, render more service than that for which you are paid, and soon you will be paid for more than you render. Let that sink in. You don't get paid first. You give first. You build the value. You create the frequency. You become the person before the world can even catch up. That's not theory. It's a universal law. It's the law of compensation in disguise. And the elite, they don't wait for conditions to be ideal. They over-deliver under pressure. Charles Schwab, head of U.S. Steel, wasn't promoted for his title. He was promoted for his attitude. He had a habit of bringing more energy, more clarity, and more belief than required, every single time. Andrew Carnegie noticed. He said Schwab had an irresistible personality, but it wasn't charm. It was overflow. That overflow made him indispensable. That overflow made him rich. And you've been taught to match effort to reward. But the secret of the elite is this: match effort to identity. They don't ask, what do I get for this? They ask, what would someone legendary do right now? And then they do it. No shortcuts, no crumbs, no minimum viable energy. They over-deliver because it's who they are, not because of what they expect in return. When Henry Ford was building the first assembly line, people mocked his obsession with improvement. He didn't just want it to work, he wanted it to flow, to sing. That obsession reduced production time from 12 hours to 90 minutes, not because anyone demanded it, but because Ford demanded it of himself. That's the difference. That's the law. Exceed expectation because it's your frequency. But let's break something open right here. If you still need outside approval to operate at your highest level, you'll always be trapped by the pace of others, and that's not you anymore. You've outgrown reactive identity. You don't respond to results. You move from standard. You don't show up based on how you feel. You show up based on who you decided to become. Write this deep into your self-image. I exceed expectations because it's who I am. You don't wait to feel ready. You move like you already are. You don't deliver 100% effort only when eyes are on you. You deliver 120% when no one's watching. Because God sees. Because energy records. Because your identity is always listening. So what does this look like in practice? It's finishing the job better than you started. It's bringing excellence into the room even when it's ignored. It's loving the craft so deeply. The world has no choice but to rise to your frequency. You see, the crowd does the minimum. The elite move in overflow. And the secret they don't teach you, it's not just about doing more. It's about becoming more. When you over-deliver, you rewire your identity to say, this is how I operate. This is my normal. And when over-delivery becomes normal, underachievement becomes impossible. You literally can't shrink anymore. Because you've installed an internal standard that refuses to bend. This is spiritual. This is energetic. This is elite behavior. And if you're still asking, but what if they don't notice? You've missed the point. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it to prove to yourself that you are no longer part of the mediocre class. The elite don't beg for attention. They command respect through results. They build beyond the paycheck. They plant before the harvest. They lead with generosity, because abundance is their identity. Let that land. Abundance isn't a reward. It's a reflection. You don't wait to get more. You become more. You give more value. You bring more power. You hold more vision. That's how the door opens. That's how the floodgates shift. That's how the world rearranges around your name. Because over time, those who live in excellence own the space. And here's the key. You do it without complaining, without entitlement, without scoreboard watching. Because when you know who you are, you don't need to chase what you've already claimed. Let them wonder how you do it. Let them watch the energy you carry. Let them feel the weight of your presence when you enter a room. Because that weight, it was built in private, in silence, in excellence. Now declare this: I exceed expectations because it's who I am. I don't count what I give. I become the kind of person who can't help but deliver more than required. Say it daily. Say it when you're tired. Say it when no one claps. Say it when the results are invisible. Because the soil always remembers the seed, and soon the harvest won't just find you, it will overflow through you. Excellence is your default now. Over-delivery is your nature. Abundance is your identity. And when the world tries to hand you average, you return it with overflow. Because you don't do the minimum. You don't meet the line. You erase the line and raise the bar. You don't just participate in this life. You dominate it with dignity, with discipline, with divine excellence. Now say it one more time. I exceed expectations because it's who I am. And now go act like it's already done, because it is. You don't rise to your feelings. You rise to your rituals. And repetition is how the elite win wars most people never see. Not with hype, not with luck, but with deliberate daily commands that shape the mind, mold the identity, and forge a future. Napoleon Hill didn't write for the casually interested. He wrote for the obsessed, the ones who wanted transformation so deeply, they were willing to say the same thing every day, until the world had no choice but to catch up. Repetition is the language of the subconscious. Read that again, because that's the code. You don't rewire your identity once. You speak it daily. You live it hourly. You breathe it until your nervous system forgets the old script. The world taught you to doubt what's not yet seen, but the elite were taught to speak what hasn't happened yet, as if it already had. This is where faith becomes fuel, not just belief, but active participation in what hasn't yet materialized. Say this out loud right now. I act like it's done. I walk like it's already mine. Let that shake something loose in your system, because your old identity doesn't fit you anymore, and your new identity requires movement. You're not rewiring for motivation. You're installing a new command center. And what does that require? It requires the same language, spoken again and again and again, until your subconscious stops questioning and starts obeying. Napoleon Hill called it autosuggestion, but this isn't affirmation for affirmation's sake. This is spiritual programming. The elite don't wait to feel worthy. They declare worth until the universe aligns with their vibration. They don't hope for success. They command it, repeatedly, ritually, relentlessly. You become what you repeat, not once, not when it's convenient, but until it becomes unshakable. And here's the truth they'll never tell you. Faith without repetition is fantasy. You don't hope your way into elite identity, you ritualize your way into it. Daily, deliberate, disciplined. Because every time you repeat who you are, your subconscious believes it just a little more. And once your subconscious believes it, your actions can no longer betray it. You no longer try, you execute. You no longer hope, you expect. Now let's lock in the ritual. Say this with full force and no hesitation. I don't hesitate. I build. I become. Say it again. I don't hesitate. I build. I become. Say it until your doubt shuts up. Say it until your vision drowns the noise. Say it until your environment shifts to match your voice. Because this is the truth. You don't need permission to become who you already are inside. You just need repetition that won't quit. The elite repeat their vision like it's breath, not because they're unsure, but because they're locked in. Your mind is a mirror, and what you show it every day becomes the reflection you live. You've declared before, I exceed expectations because it's who I am. Say it again. Let it tattoo itself across your operating system. You've said, I do not allow weak energy in my atmosphere. Say it until your presence pushes misalignment out the room. You've declared, I act like it's done. I walk like it's already mine. Say it until the world mistakes you for the future version of yourself, because you've already become it. There is no fallback now, no former script to hide inside. You've burned the bridge. You've chosen the new identity, and you've repeated it until the frequency became permanent. That's what they teach the elite. That's what they hide from the public. Repetition creates reality, and you've been rehearsing greatness long enough. It's time to live it. Faith isn't a whisper, it's a rhythm, a pattern, a walk, and this is how you lock it in. You don't just say it, you structure your life around it. You install identity reminders on your walls. You build your morning around repetition. You move through your day speaking destiny, not doubt. You go to bed rehearsing victory, not fear. You ritualize until you become the ritual. You don't need more proof. You are the proof. You don't need more validation. You validate yourself with every repeated word, every aligned action, every unshakable morning where you speak like a king and move like it's already won. You don't wait for the world to confirm who you are. You declare who you are until the world rearranges to match it. Now lock this into your DNA. I act like it's done. I walk like it's already mine. I lead from identity. I repeat until it's real. You are no longer guessing. You're no longer experimenting. You're executing. This is the full installation, the final shift. Every piece of you is aligning now. No hesitation, no fallback, no apology. Let them wonder what happened. Let them question the glow. Let them whisper about your rise. You don't owe them answers. You are the answer. Walk in it. Say it again. I don't hesitate. I build. I become. And now, let the world adjust, because you won't.